Hey everyone, my name is Ben Gromicko. I'm from InterNACHI, that's the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And we're doing a webinar today. It's a live online interactive webinar. And today we have a special guest, that's Glenn Stevens. And Glenn, he started G. Stevens and Associates way back in 2011. He has 3 Florida licenses, certified residential contractor, certified roofing contractor, and also a home inspector down in Florida. And his goal is to educate homeowners about their homes and how to protect their investment. And Glenn, I believe you've performed more than just a few home inspections.
Yeah, I think I'm at the 4,000 plus mark. So yeah.
So you are in a position to actually help others. You're a trainer, you're a teacher, an instructor, you're a head of education at FABI. Why don't you tell us about FABI? What's FABI?
FABI is Florida Association of Building Inspectors. We are the state association for Florida, and we focus all of our stuff and our training on Florida-based inspections. For those of you who don't understand, Florida is probably one of the most unique markets that are out there. So with that being said, you know, we do a lot of different things that the rest of the country, the rest of the world just doesn't do. Insurance inspections such as wind mitigation, 4 points. These are very specialized to Florida inspectors. And if you don't perform those, well, guess what? You're not going to do a whole heck of a lot of inspections and everything, especially if you don't perform them with the home inspection. Standalone, that's a different subject altogether, but there's guys who do that as well. So with that unique environment, dealing with salt water, humidity on a daily basis as we do down here, Florida Association of Building Inspectors is really the association that focuses on those types of inspections. We have 4 conferences a year. We've got another conference coming up in September. We just had one in June in Tampa. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, we've got a conference coming up here in September.
Yep. So, and the conference, how many people do you expect?
We're actually expecting 200 plus.
Because you just recent had a chapter meeting. The chapter meeting had 150.
Yeah, yeah. Our conference in June in Tampa, we had 150 people show up for that class. For that 3-day event, you know, so we love it.
Yeah, and all state approved CE stuff.
All approved CEs, yes.
And good food.
Very good food. Can you tell? I do eat well.
So down in Florida, you guys do things. You guys and gals do things like aging the roof, right? Because when you're doing a roof inspection, you got to put some ages down in the system.
Sure do. Yeah. So with the roofs, right? We're looking at how that roof is, because the insurance carriers here in Florida are driving this effort. Okay, much to the roofing industry and the home inspectors industry dismay. So the insurance companies are really coming in. Right now, they are saying they're not writing new policies, new insurance policies for shingle roofs or modified bitumen roofs that are older than 10 years. Tile roofs, they're not writing new policies if they're older than 20. And this isn't just one company. This is a multitude of companies, from the large carriers down to the smaller ones. So it's becoming quite tricky in trying to negotiate that with our clients, or inform our clients of all that information, because of it's always changing. The information is always changing for us. So yeah, we have to age the roofs, and you know, surprisingly, those roofs they die pretty quickly. A 50-year roof does not last for 50 years here in Florida.
And you know, we're all deeply saddened by the news of the building collapse down in Florida, and you know, our hearts and thoughts go out to the families that are affected. But we're in a unique position to help out. Like,
correct,
every building should be inspected. on a regular basis.
It should.
Not
It
sure.
doesn't matter. Commercial, residential, high-rise condos, all of it. Yeah, I mean, it's our job to really look at the details of all those structures.
Yep, and you can't get any better than you are. You can't. You can only go as far as you know. So
Exactly.
that's why I really appreciate hearing that you're the director of education down there in Florida and providing some really good live classes to keep our professional development going and learn more so we can be better inspectors for everybody.
Exactly.
Really
I honestly live by the creed that knowledge is power, but only if you share it. And you never stop learning, you know. So.
And that's why we're here.
There you go.
This
That's
webinar.
why we're here. Yeah.
So what do you want to share? What should we learn from you today?
You know what? We've got so much information, you know. So all right, let's
and also, by the way, folks who are attending, if you want to ask questions, Glenn can grab those questions and answer them. We could save a few at the end, whatever you want to do. So feel free to ask questions if you'd like. No big deal. Or you can chat them. There's a little chat feature and there's a Q&A feature, which is what we prefer here. A little Q&A feature. You can put your question in there and you can actually upvote questions that are good. Thanks for everybody attending. And again, thanks, Glenn, for being here. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so, you know, I got an emergency call here earlier this week that had a brand new roof installed. Okay. And that roof, and we'll get up and throw on that chair.
Yep.
So with that roof, it's a brand new modified bitumen roof, and this is a very large flat roof. The building itself is wood frame, stucco over, and they are still getting water coming in. And I can't imagine why, as we're seeing an entire wall opened up here, as well as with the stucco. You know, counter flashing. Counter flashing is an absolute major concern. If the roofer's if they're not properly flashing the structure, you will always get water in. And in this particular case, this roofer had 3 different types of sealant along this counter flashing. And it's a horrendous looking job. It really is, you know. So as we go through corners, around curves, the whole 9 yards, it's just absolutely ugly.
Well, the problem with sealant is they're just not enough to put on. You just keep putting it on, put it on.
Yeah, right. More sealant isn't better sealant. And you know, so we've got this structure. It's very large. It is on the water, as we can tell. This is a canal right next to the structure. This is actually out on a barrier island. So as we're going through, right, and look at the stucco. Look at where the stucco here is just absolutely cracked. And by the way, this is one of the classes that we had at our last conference, was talking about stucco and the issues that we have with that. Well, here it is. I've got cracks in stucco and I've got water intrusion. So, you know, so this client was really concerned about the fact that they're still getting water intrusion from the roof element. And I got out there and I said, well, the truth is, it's more than just the roof. It is the counter flashing. It is the flashing itself. It is some of the seams in the membrane, but it's also in the stucco. It's also in the structure. And you know, and the client's asking me, how do I correct this? Well, we're going to have to open things up. You're going to have to dry things out before you can get it absolutely corrected and repaired. So, you know, as we go through, that's exactly what we're running into on a regular basis down here. As you can tell, I take a lot of photos when I do my inspections, and the reason being is I do not do reports on site. all of my reports, I bring them back here, work on them in the computer. I've got multiple computer screens. I can blow up these images here and really look at some details. You know, I can get in there and zoom down, and I can see how things are absolutely happening. You know, I'm not going to see that out in the field. You know, I'm hot, sweaty, sticky, stinky, right? You know, writing a report sitting in my truck trying to write this report is not conducive to writing a good report. It just isn't. So, you know, so I bring everything back here. I go through everything and build my report from there. I can pull up research. I can pull up permits and look at so much different information up front. Here's just this corner. Look how chopped up it is. You know, I mean, and we've got silicone sealant that's around that, and that's not an approved product at that location. It just isn't. And yet the roofer says it's a completed job. So, you know, so much information. And again, here, all the cracks, all the waving in throughout that structure. You know, it's a multitude of issues. So we've got that. I know a lot of questions we get, or I get rather, are regarding new construction. And I do a lot of those as well. And most of our construction's all masonry block with, there's some builders that are doing masonry block on multi-stories, but many are doing wood frame second story, and then stucco or hardy board siding. So it, you know, right away, I'm questioning why this lovely piece of paper or cardboard is shoved up in a piece of masonry.
What is that?
It is the box that holds Simpson ties. Right, and they just crumpled it up and shoved it in the hole.
What's the purpose?
Ironically, this particular subdivision and on this street, there are 4 family members that are all buying these houses, and they're all next door to each other. So talking about a close family, they're all moving down from North Carolina. Go figure. And the brother's house, which is right next door, I noted the exact same thing. They just take it and ball it up and throw it up in there. So, you know, always looking at a lot of miscellaneous items as we go through. You know, trying to looking at the membrane, make sure that it's got proper coverage on it, all the tie back. Looking at the seals around the windows, all the flashing around it. Some of it's good, some of it not so much. They're not quite done with this particular project or ready for all their siding yet. So I was there for a pre-drywall for this inspection, but it's the first time I saw this house and everything going up. So I always go through and do a complete walk around just to make sure everything that I'm seeing. Here's a question that came up recently on Facebook. Had an inspector here in Florida, and a friend of whatever it was questioning what these holes are. Okay, and you know, I nicely, not so nicely pointed out, well, you as an inspector, we should know what those items are. And if you don't, maybe you want to take a look at your training. And so like I said, I was nice, but not so nice about it. It happens sometimes. But those are inspection ports for the rebar. We build concrete steel cages down here. And so that is for the building inspector to actually look into that, make sure the rebar is in place, and then they fill those cells from the foundation all the way up with concrete.
Hmm.
So that's their purpose, and it should be on every masonry construction that we see. Step crack right away. This is a combination of issues. It's curing, not enough mortar in there filling that up, a little bit of settling going on, and I've got step cracks in the exact same location on both sides of this house.
Huh.
So it tells me that there is some settling issues happening here, and it needs to be corrected. And the only way to truly correct it is really to fill the void with some epoxy, not just mortar, and to make sure that it's properly sealed, because this will allow moisture to come through and insects to come through into structure. And again, my notes, I got step cracking all the way through. So note it right on the walls, take photos of it, put it in the report. And I just did this house the other day, so.
And how far do you go with your recommendations? Like when do you use the term contractor and structural engineer?
For new construction, and because everything down here requires a Division I contractor, that's a general contractor, building contractor, or residential contractor, which is what I hold, and a structural engineer to sign off on the plans and to work on the projects. Everything does. In new construction, I don't do those deferrals because it's in progress. I point them out, I note them, correct the issue. The moment I start telling the contractor how to correct the issue is the moment I own the liability. Right? So I never want to tell them how to do their job. I just want to point out that their job is wrong. Okay. So, it's just going through and documenting issues that may or may not exist. Okay. And properly noting them. One of the biggest things that contractors have a problem with when a home inspector shows up on a job site is that the home inspector will call out frivolous items, right? Home inspector will go out, break out the set of plans and start measuring walls and measuring spacing. That's not our job. I'm here to make sure that those issues that are evident, that need to be corrected, are corrected. And these are the things that may or may not get picked up by the building inspector or by the construction manager. So like the step cracking is a prime example. Those may not get picked up by it either. But at least they're noted and identified, and we can move on. Other thing, with all the draft stop holes in the wiring, right? None of the draft stops are installed yet. So I've got to go through and identify those spaces. Contractors should be able to pick those up, but again, they will miss them. There's times that I've seen all of these holes in and someone else has come back in and dropped in a new line somewhere. So all the furring strips in here, and I'm catching this more and more often. Here you go.
It's just
here's a hanger that doesn't have nearly enough nails in it.
Yeah.
And then we have these two floor joists that what's directly over my head is a bathtub. And they've just toenailed those in place. There's no hangers on those whatsoever.
And smashed the crap out of the bottom of the.
Of course. It's the way these guys think, well, I got a hammer big enough to handle it. Well, it's not the way to be looking at it, but okay. You know, let's get some hangers in there. Let's correct these. Like I said, and directly above me is about,
Yeah.
you know, let's fill that up with water at that location. And where's the bathtub going to sit? Right?
Yep.
It's going to be down at the bottom. So, yeah.
Is that a temporary post? Where you
No, that's a permanent post. That's a glue lamp post right there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a 6x6 glue lamp. You know, it's, one building has it, the other doesn't. You know, all the daylight coming through on the step crack. Here's the other thing I keep seeing lately is the nail plates or the nailers next to the doors and windows. They're only hit with one nail. So when I'm doing my inspection, I go through and I move them. If they're loose or if there's only one nail in it, I'll kick them off to the side and take a picture of it. Like I said, all through identifying where we're missing items, you know. It's another thing. These nail plates are great products. They're there to protect the wire, the plumbing. It keeps the drywallers from throwing screws through those items. But the one thing they don't really pay attention to is these are spikes on the other side of that nail plate, and that wire is actually touching those spikes.
Yeah.
So when the drywallers come through, they're actually going to throw it up there, push the drywall in, and they're going to penetrate that wire. So, yeah, these are the items that I'm looking for in a pre-drywall inspection regularly. Look for the items that are really squirrely. Here you go. Great framing job, huh? You know, and that's, again, pointing these items here out. Yeah, it's mundane. It's like, well, that's not really your job, but yeah, actually in this particular case it is. So that's what we're doing. We're identifying these issues so that we can move on. And I typically do these, I typically run these about 2 to 3 days prior to the clients and the contractors walkthrough inspection. A lot of the builders will offer that up. And so, you know, I want to get in there and look at it. This is the knee wall coming up the stairs. It's got a good wiggle to it. So I suggest to stiffen it up. Here's one that comes up on a, we're seeing more and more of these. If you can.
Yep.
And what you're seeing in that photo is, this is a Simpson screw. This is the newer technology that we're using and that new construction is using to do roof to wall connections. After drywall goes in place, these are not visible. Okay. It's 6 inches, and they either go straight up or they go at an angle into the from the top plate into the trusses. Here they've gone in through the top plate, underside of it. All the roof to wall connections, and because of our wind mitigations, I do make sure I go through and identify those as well. And as an inspector for wind mitigation, we're not going to see these after the fact. So having this information as part of the documentation for the client, it helps them down the road. Again, nail plates. The criteria is that you must have a nail plate if the hole for that pass through for that wire or the plumbing is within 1.5 inches. So even if it's right at that 1.5 inches, I'm going to recommend a nail plate go in place.
Sure.
It's just a safety issue. And obviously we got ponding water here in this location. Second floor, standing water. The rule is 48 hours. All standing water must be off site or off the structure. There's that bathtub I was talking about that has that unsupported underneath. I don't think these non-structural walls here are going to actually support that tub when it fills up. Soft, two places that we had, was able to identify on that second floor. The subfloor is not connected. It has spring to it. That, you know, that's going to squeak down the road. Or if they decide they're going to put tile or anything else up here, it's going to crack. So make sure we identify. I don't think there's enough nails in that location to make it.
What was that?
That's on the outside. They were trying to nail to the stud and they missed it by 3 inches.
Over and over again, they missed it.
Yeah, yes. So, you know, again, I'll put a red marker on it, put a big question mark and say, what are you guys doing here? You know, let's think about our end product. And that's another question that comes up. On these jacks, should those jacks be cut and trimmed? The answer is no. They actually come from the factory just like that, and they just get toe nailed in. They're part of the hip jack. They're part of that process. They just get toe nailed in. I would like to see a bucket on those, but in this particular case, we're right up against the corner, so they're not structural. They're just kind of holding that roof line together at that point. And here again, you can see the screw head coming in at an angle versus directly underneath. That standing water again. And I've got standing water on that windowsill. Instead of that water draining out, I've got standing water right there on that location. And this is part of what been hearing from some of the neighbors and everything in this community. They're getting water intrusion into their completed homes. I can see why. If they're not angled properly, if they're not set properly, water will intrude into structure. Doesn't necessarily have to have nails on the underside of it, but it is preferred in this particular case. My apologies, my dog is barking.
It's okay.
Yeah. So that's we're looking at for the new construction, and then, you know, obviously we start getting into some of the other elements, insurance inspections, wind mitigations.
We have an inspection from Sean, I believe that's how you pronounce it. What's the best way to enter a gable roof for an inspection? And what type of footwear is best for roof inspections?
Okay, great question. So let's let me go back into where I was just at. They're just basically tennis shoes. In this particular case, these are steel-toed shoes, and they're Timberlands. But any good a good tennis shoe, something that's going to give you good grip to the shingles or to the metal is ideal. You don't want to go up there with cowboy boots. Right? You know, you don't want to go up there with flip-flops, but a good shoe that gives you a good grip. What was that other question? And
how did
accessing gables?
yeah, what's the best way to enter a gable roof for inspection?
I don't enter gable and I don't go into the gables. In fact, I've got one I did here just did one last month. Let me open that one up here real quick. You see, I'm very well organized with all my files, right?
That's nice. Yeah, in relation to shoes, like if I was doing like a new construction, like you were, definitely boots and some construction shoes.
Yeah,
with foot protection, you know, steel toe, because who knows what's going on. Something might drop, something loose, might step on something. But a regular home inspection, yeah, a sneaker, you know, you don't want any aggressive treads on a hot roof, especially.
no, you're just gonna damage the roof. And you know, something with a nice thick sole, good tennis shoe with a thick sole. I can't tell you the number of times that I've stepped on nails, tin caps from a roof tear off, and it doesn't reach my foot, but it definitely goes all the way through the shoe. So, you know, having something along those lines is absolutely critical.
And our inspectors always brought indoor only shoes.
Yeah, I've had a couple of clients who asked me for booties. I'm able to slide my shoes on and off, and my socks are clean, so I'll just kick them off and go inside that way. This was a home inspection I did recently, just in the end of last month. And so the question from Sean asking about entering into the gable. Let's see. Lots and lots of photos. I can't take enough photos on site. I just can't.
Well, while you're looking for that, Nikki asks, one joist that was toe-nailed under the bathtub, you called out for hangers, but do you call out for over nailing for strength reasons if a hanger isn't required in other areas? Over nailing.
Yeah, you know, if at some point you're damaging the structure, the structural component of the wood, and so it just doesn't have the strength anymore. So yeah, I have called it out periodically. You know, I don't know what the correction is after they've gone through and tore it up, like on those two ends. You can't replace those floor joists, right? Taking those out is a structural nightmare. So, and trying to put new ones in is ludicrous, right? So, yeah, at some point, you got to call it out and say, hey, you guys got too many nails in here, or you note it as such, possible over nailing. At that point, I'm going to defer out to the structural engineer. I want someone else to own that component. So going back to Sean's accessing gable ends. This particular house had no attic access internally. It only had gable ends, but in this particular case, it was designed with hinges so it could be accessed. So I was able to open it up and take a peek in. Here's why I don't always access gable ends. Lovely electrical wires sitting right there. Right there, nice and frayed, not in a junction box. It's been connected, reconnected. Here's a better photo of it. Awesome, right?
Yeah, why did they do that? It's not like they had a junction box or anything there, or an extra connection or anything.
Don't know. Rats could have chewed it.
Yeah, and they just repaired it with some electrical tape.
Yeah. All the insulation completely matted down. So this attic I did not access. I took all these photos right from that gable end.
Yep.
Right. Water damage.
Yep. Hey. That's a termite hole. Never saw one.
That's a rat hole in the air conditioning duct. And this particular house had central air conditioning, but it had window shakers in every bedroom or in every room. So all the window units were in there as well. Here we go. More live wires and not even wrapped up, not even protected. Again, I'm not entering this attic because it is a safety issue.
Yep.
Gable end, gang, listen, I'm not a small guy, as you can tell. I'm 300 plus. All right. And to go in, to try to squeeze in through a gable end and try to do it safely, it's not so much getting in. I can get in safely. It's the getting out is going to be the huge issue. Because now I can't just crawl in and crawl out like I did on this one because I've got a flat roof to work from. Most times you're going in through the gable through with a ladder. Well, the only way out of that is to back out, and now you're going out blind. So no, not going to happen.
Do you call that out as a hazard or an issue, or what?
This is a huge hazard. Yeah, no, this is an absolutely huge hazard. As a matter of fact, I did not even go inside on this house to do the inspection. The realtor showed up shortly after I started, after I finished all the outside. And I told her flat out, I said, have the client seen this house? And she goes, no, they have not seen it live yet. That's the other scary part. People are buying homes without seeing them. Not only are they buying them without seeing them, they're being advised not to get a home inspection. Please.
Yeah.
No, get the home inspection, and at least this way you can see it through the process, right? You know, and obviously they've had rats because they got traps all throughout the year. So just common issues that I see on a regular basis. And there is another attic access on the other side, but it's in a small part of the yard. And so setting up my ladder there at that location is not feasible. Yep. Not safe anyway. So going in through those gables, if I can poke my head in, I'll poke my head in, but I'm not entering the roof structure. I'm not entering that attic space.
And Gerald says, booties for the win. Something as simple as putting them on shows great appreciation and consideration for the client. And he gets a lot of comments and gratitude from his clients.
Totally agree. I totally agree. You know, we walk around in a lot of gunk. I always make sure that my feet are clean before I'm walking in structure. You know, and if they've got white carpeting or white tile, the shoes are coming off before I even open the door. That's all there is to it. Yeah, I've got no problem inspecting inside the house in my socks. You know, I prefer to be barefoot anyway, but you know. But yeah, it's just stuff that we deal with on a regular basis. So
what else you want to show us?
Yeah, I was going to get into wind mitigation. And this one here is combination wind mid and 4-point.
So it's nice. You're teaching right from the House of Horrors, I see.
Yeah. Exactly, right?
So if some folks don't know, there's a House of Horrors down in Florida, in Weston, Florida, inside Pro Labs headquarters.
I think I think I'm one of only a handful of instructors who have taught at House of Horrors and House of Horrors 2.
Yeah.
And Larry's already invited me up for House of Horrors 3.
House of Horrors 3 in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. This is a good one here. Wind mitigations.
Yeah, we don't want roofs in Florida blowing off the structure.
No. Why would we want that?
It's unique, really, to Florida. I mean, there are other wind mitts down in the southeast, but really Texas, in Florida, yeah, Texas, yep. But that's the concern, because you're all next to high wind areas, categorized as high wind areas, and things just tend to blow off structures down there. So we're trying to tighten things up, even in existing buildings. So if something needs to be retrofitted, you guys do that.
Exactly. Yep. So I often follow behind other inspectors on inspections. This is all the previous inspector's notes on the trusses, identifying nail spacing and nail location. He's got a note here and he's got a note here, but he completely missed this one right here in the center.
It's right there.
So I don't know what he used to identify those locations, but he missed one. So, safety issues here. The deck board is completely broken out. You step on that, you're going to go through it.
Yep.
So
and what tool are you using to identify those fasteners?
Well, I use a Zircon HD 900. The state says they want you to use the Zircon MT6, but it has a much larger head on it than I use. And so you have a tendency to be a little bit closer to the roof deck than, so you may be identifying things other than the truss nails or the deck nails. So get into the photos where I noted. Able to look up in between the deck boards. I can see I'm dealing with felt underlayment, right? If it's reflective, I'm going to get peel and stick, or it may be the newer products of using synthetic felt. So I've got to be very careful when I'm identifying here. So here are my red marks on the trusses, and I've identified where those nails are. Yes, I did find a nail here at this location, but that's also a split where that nail's at, where that board's at. And these are 1x12s. So able to identify it and the spacing on those nails. And I mark it. I've got 2 nails per 1x12 dimensional. Find my shiners and measure my lengths. So the previous inspector said this home had a toenail connection. Well, what I'm looking at here is I'm at the garage wall. 6 feet out is the leading edge of the roof line. So the previous inspector had noted the toenails out at that location, but here the steel is actually embedded in. And I have my 2 nails and another nail on this other side. It's actually nailed further down. Here's a question for everybody. When were they when did we here in Florida start installing metal in construction? Right? I mean, we've been doing it here since the late 50s. And that's not a small piece of nail or metal. Okay. Just real quick. This house was built in 1968. So here it is. I've got an embedded piece of steel with nails in it. So we've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And rest of the country, there's parts of the U.S. that are still not using any Simpson metal connectors for roof to wall, for first floor, second floor connectors. Look at some of the homes that are being built in Texas right now. You know, numbers and framed structures that they don't even have sheathing on the sides of it to give them nice and stiff. And all they are is two-story stick-built structures, and they're collapsing. That shouldn't be. I get my framing up. I need to put some plywood. I gotta put some decking, you know, some sheathing on that wall to help stiffen it up. So yeah, you know, let's build right. You know, people complain about Florida, but you know, we've been doing this for a long time.
Mark Andre says wind is becoming a thing also in Canada. So we have a Canadian attending.
Yeah. So here's the opposite side of that same truss and everything, where I've got 2 nails on it. So this is a roof to wall, and this is a properly attached roof to wall connection. It's not a toe-nailed structure. So, you know, and it's just a matter of paying attention and looking at how things are built. I know I have a photo. Here's my camera pole that I use to identify my roof to wall connections.
Now, what's that? You got a camera on the end of that?
Yeah.
So you have a camera in your hand right in the picture, and you got a camera.
Right. So this is the tool that I use for my roof to wall connections. All right. It is a 4-inch paint roller that I've got identified at 1/2-inch markings. All right. I've got a GoPro camera. Okay. And actually this is a knockoff GoPro. It's the Sako. But it works the same way. It sends it has a Wi-Fi on it, and that my phone, it feeds it directly to my phone so I can see what it sees. And then I've got a light that shines on it. And because this doesn't have a flash, this gives me my light. I can see everything that's going on down there and see how bright the light is in the photo.
Yep.
And I'm looking at those roof to wall connections.
Yep. What's the 4-inch thing with the blue tape?
Okay, so this allows me to get insulation out of the way. Allows me to get those stupid baffles out of the way that are always blocking things that we can't quite see. It's extending out far enough to where it's protecting the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. And these markings, I use those because I can turn the camera up in this angle, turn my light up at this angle. I can put this end down by the strap to see how far away from the truss it is. And because these are at 1/2-inch increments, I've got a maximum spacing from a truss of the 1/2 inch without being blocked up to 1.5 inches being blocked. And what blocking is basically a spacer between the truss and the roof to wall connector.
Yep.
So, and I put this on the end of an extendable 12-foot pole. It's essentially it's a DACA pole. And it just screws into the head of it. And I'm out there. I've used this for I use it for all my roof to wall connections. I've used it for roof inspections. I've got a 33-foot DACA pole that I've used it for, and I've since upgraded to a drone. So, you know, I've got the tools that I need to properly identify my structures. And I have used that 33-foot pole in an attic because there was no way I could get all the way out to the roof of the walls.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I ain't small, so I got to get the tools and everything that I need to properly inspect things. So, and that's what I do. and here's the quality of those photos. I'm down here at the end. This is the leading edge of that overhang, but I'm right down there on it. You can't get much better photographs than that, than always using a ticker to identify open wires. This house had a lot of open wires on it. So yeah, so up in my attic, I'm taking a bunch of photos in the attic alone. In this particular case, from the time I entered the attic, and I never used the ladder access. Okay, the pull down ladders, number one, they're not weighted for me, and they're never installed correctly. We've got individuals who will use drywall screws to attach them, who will not put the nails in the hole that they're supposed to put them in. They never cut the foot correctly, and the steps are wobbly as can be. So yeah, I've had too many explode underneath me. So I always use my ladder, and I always photograph my ladder before I climb it.
Yeah.
It's safety reasons, straight up.
Yeah, we just had somebody posted something about an inspector went up, new house, and the attic, that framing wasn't nailed and fastened. I think there were 2 nails or something, and it just came right down. Yep.
Oh yeah, I had one. I refused to enter the attic because of that very issue.
Yep.
I told my client, and it's new construction. Told my client, I'm not entering your attic for this very reason.
Yep. Got to use your own ladders.
Exactly. Matter of fact, in my classes, I show where I rode a 12-foot ladder that was rated for 375. I rode it all the way down.
Wow.
And so, I use that in my classes all the time. So it's critical. Use your own ladders. Use your own ladders.
Hussein in Canada says, here in Canada, we still find attics with vermiculite. How do you recommend if you find such a case?
So vermiculite, we're still building structures that have asbestos components in them. We're doing that today here in the United States, in Canada. It is a natural mineral. Vermiculite insulation, it's only hazardous when we get up there and start playing around in it. Okay, start rolling around in it, and then it's a problem. I'm going to note it that the client and that this home has vermiculite, which is a known asbestos containing product. It is not hazardous as long as you do not disturb it. If the clients are going to be concerned by it, then have a professional come in to properly remediate it. Yep. And they must be a licensed asbestos remediator. Doesn't matter if you're in Canada or the US, they must hold that asbestos remediation license.
Yeah, I just posted in the chat for everyone a link to an article, nachi.org/vermiculite. There's I don't know, 10 things, safety precautions you could do. In the United States, EPA usually says for like asbestos or lead paint, kind of leave it in place unless it's causing problems, unless the lead paint is already friable or something. It's best to leave it in place and cover it up.
Yep. Oh yeah. And we're talking about for this wind mitigation, from the time I entered the attic until the time I got out, 37 photos.
You're snap happy.
I said I take a lot of photos. People say you're up in the attic an awful long time. Yeah, it's my happy place.
So Marc Andre says in Quebec, vermiculite is not considered a hidden defect.
No.
Well, asbestos is a problem. It is a health issue. So I'm not sure. Peter says, why photograph the ladder before going up? Oh, I think we already answered that, because if it's someone else's ladder, I never use someone else's tools. I never grab another guy's hammer. That was the joke. And then it's just a safety hazard. You can break your leg, at least sprain it, your ankle from one rung up. So if you're going up someone else's ladder and it breaks on you, well, you should have used your own step ladder. And those attic access things, sometimes they're installed by the homeowner in a hallway somewhere in a garage ceiling, and it's not done very well. And it's not fastened properly. And that's an 8-foot drop if it goes. So sometimes you take a picture of things that open up on you before you enter, kind of like an electrical panel. You open up the front dead cover, and I take a picture of the breakers inside, just to make sure I've documented the condition of the system or component before I touch it. Oh, looks like you got a slideshow on ladder safety.
Yeah. You know, so this is that lovely 12-foot ladder I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I was real excited. It's 375-pound rated ladder. You know, I'm happy. And so here it is, and it's all ready to go. You know.
Oh.
I rode that entire structure all the way down, and this box right here, okay, was not connected to anything. The only thing holding it in place was paint and door trim. And I rode the whole thing down.
Oh, look at that. Well, there you go.
There you go. From that day on, I did not use anyone else's ladder.
Yep. And we've got a safety course. InterNACHI has a free online safety course, and it's actually available to non-members. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to pay us to take the safety course. It's online because we want our inspectors to come back home. That's the number one thing.
Number one.
Come back home safe.
Yep. Everybody needs to come home safe. That's just all there is to it. Let's see. Deal with a lot of old homes. This, and talking about asbestos, this is the house that actually had asbestos siding on it. So we do come across it. I come across asbestos siding, asbestos floor tile, and my recommendation is leave it alone.
Yep.
Let it be, unless it's breaking apart, and then you want to come in and have someone encapsulate it. And that is simply using a heavy duty polymer or elastomeric type of paint to really bind that stuff together. And this was the wind mitigation that I had done for this. This was a home that was up for sale. It was a brand new roof that was installed on it. I do a lot of wind mitigations after new roofs. I've got a number of different roofing contractors who utilize me exclusively to come out and perform the wind mitigation for their new roofs. They pay me once a month for all of this. So they send me those leads. And let's see, trying to get into those files.
It looks like you're organized with your files.
Yeah, you know, I try to be. So
and why is that? It seems you keep records of everything you do forever and ever. I get a lot of questions like, how long should I keep an inspection report? And I say, well, if it's digital, why not just keep it forever? But you know,
well, and that's just it. So here I've got 9 years worth of folders. Okay. And I get questions. I get a lot of return clients who call in and say, I need the wind mitigation, or I need a new wind mitigation. Well, I've got so much information from the last time I was there that I don't have to go in and recollect all the same pieces of information.
Right. So
I've got the photos there. If it's digital, I keep it as long as I need to keep it.
Have you ever done an inspection, a home inspection on the same property over and over, like maybe twice for different clients?
Rarely.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
think I've
happen.
done it. I think I've done that once or twice.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of wind mitigations where a new client has called me and said, I need a wind mitigation, and the address sounds familiar to me. I
Right.
pull up and yeah, I've been at this house before. I climb up in the attic and there's my notes on the trusses. So yeah, you know, I get those as well. I've got a good memory on a lot of things, or you know, but I get this all the time. I get insurance companies call. I have every wind mitigation and 4-point that I've ever sent out via email. From I lost 3 years worth of records. I had a hard drive crash, and I lost from 2011 to 2013, 14 of original photos, original documentation. But on those returning clients, because I've saved the emails, right, I can actually pull that information back. I can do a search on my email system, and I can pull those files up real quick.
Yep.
So yeah, organization is key. You know, I've got this year's inspections already laid out. You know, and coming in, and I've got an inspection already scheduled for the 26th. So it's already sitting here. Folders already created for it, ready to populate and fill in, right? You know, and so going through, I organize for a reason. I take photos in a sequence for a reason. I take a lot of photos for a reason. And that's also I can come back and rewalk that inspection at any time.
You don't give all of the photos to your clients though.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No, my reports, my average reports are 40 pages for a home inspection. And that's including all the supporting information.
Yeah.
Heck, let me pull up one of my latest home inspections. That makes life so.
Nikki says, Google Images is a great way to keep all your photos from each property filed and backed up. It's all in the cloud. And Nikki says, I typically take 200 photos and not many of those make it in the report. Right. So when I was doing inspections, yeah, 300, 400 pictures, probably max 400. And now everything is in the cloud. So you can do a hard drive, but yeah, you can do like Google Docs or something like that and upload it.
So in this particular case, in this folder, this was new construction inspection. I've got 384 items. That's permit research, all the photos, drone. I've got my drone photos and drone videos in here.
Doing drone?
Yeah.
Fancy.
I try to.
And so what are the benefits of doing a drone, having a drone?
So the benefits, for me, the benefits of doing the drone. Here's a prime example, okay? This is an older tile roof. It's large. It's Spanish S style tile. There are cracks and there are broken tile on this, but it's also a good 6, 7, 12 slope. Let's go back to what I've been saying all along. I ain't tiny. Okay. Yes, I know where to walk on these tiles, and I could walk on these tiles, but there's a couple of issues that are going on right now. I've got a blown knee. I'm waiting for a new knee. Perfectly honest with you, that's one of the, aside from the heart attack I had last year, losing weight so I can get a new knee by the end of the year. So yeah, there's things going on. So I have to be safe before I even enter that structure. And in this particular case, the drone is helping me with that. And it allows me to get in. I take high-res videos of everything, and photographs for it, as it tries to buffer and everything, because we're doing everything through the net. But it allows me to see things that are blind spots that I can't see from the ground. I can't see from a camera pole. If I put a ladder up, I may not have seen it either.
Right.
I can't walk every roof. So, I mean, I'm actually looking at, I got a broken tile right here. You know, I can see it as I'm coming in, and it's in a blind spot of that root structure that you can't see.
Yep.
So I want to be able to use the tools that I have available to me in the event that I cannot walk the roof.
Did I see a shot of you taking measurements from a drone shot?
No.
No. Oh, okay. I thought it was
I ain't got that fancy yet. I know I do know there is software out there that can do that. I'm just not there yet with it. So, but here's that broken tile.
Yep.
Pause this. So not only do I have a broken tile in a blind spot of the roof, but it gives me a chance to actually look up this valley and see where I may have other potential issues. So the drone is not my go-to tool. The drone is the tool that I use when I can't do anything else.
Yep. So there's a couple folks who are mentioning the Dockapole. And so I looked it up. There's a link to dockapole.com. It's also on Amazon.
It
so
is.
It doesn't I don't think it's an acronym for anything or something, but
no, it isn't. That's the product.
Yeah.
Here's a concern that you need to be very, very careful with. It is an aluminum pole.
Yep.
It is conductive.
Yep.
I say that because 2 years ago, we lost a home inspector here in Florida because he was extending his pole. He was outside and it came in contact with the service line, and it killed him instantly. And this, he'd only been inspecting not quite a year yet, but he was good. He was doing it. He was getting out there and really doing well for his clients. Unfortunately, he failed to take that big safety issue and look up. You always have to be familiar with your surroundings.
Yep.
Okay, I can't stress that enough. You know, before I extend my pole on the outside, before I take a flight with my drone, I've already walked around that property and looked up. I know what my barriers are.
Yep. That's one of the things that I do. You were talking earlier about having a process. You take the same process through your pictures, taking the same way. And so that's a really good safety tip. Always inspect a property, if you can, in the same way, in the same path. Maybe do the exterior and then the roof and clockwise or something. There's got to be a pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't miss something.
Yeah. So as we go back and look at my photos, my 384 documents, right? I always take the same sequence of photos. So for my wind mitigations, it's the front, the address. For my home inspections, it's the front, driveway, walkways, foundation. You know, so there's a sequence of event. It is all about being consistent. And if you're not inspecting in a consistent manner, you're going to miss something. I know inspectors who will inspect all the systems individually. They'll go and inspect all the electrical, then come back around and do all the plumbing. If that's your system and you're consistent with that, go for it. That's not the way I do it, but I'm not you. So that's not my system.
Yep.
I'm going to document everything I can as I come to it, but I still follow the same system.
Yep. Glenn, Aaron asks, what software do you use for your inspection reports?
I'm glad you asked.
He says, I use HomeGauge and I saw there's something good going on between them and InterNACHI.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm waiting for that nice announcement to happen.
Yeah, we'll register for that announcement.
I think I was one of the first ones to register for that.
You missed it in the newsletter.
Yeah, I do my own. I've got my own system. Okay. Yeah. I've recently converted from a Word document, Word template that I've been using from the beginning, and have moved everything into an Excel file. I've got a mentality that I want to present my material to. I want my clients to see things in a certain way. All of my reports, and this is just the back door, this is just the information going in, but all my reports then look the same. Okay, so I've got it all laid out, everything gets populated into it, and this is my final inspection report. 36 pages. From my aerial view that I bring from Google.
Yep.
To my main structural shells.
Looks nice.
To my exterior openings. Roof geometry.
Yep.
Even my wind mitigation information. I always look at my homes because I am in Florida. My inspection report is a wind mitigation 4-point on steroids, because I'm also identifying structure. I'm identifying those items that don't typically fall under those insurance inspections. So this is where I come at it from those. Every inspection, I pull permits on. I do a complete permit list on everything on it. And as we can tell, there it is. There's the permit number for the building. And here's the 2 air conditioning permits. They're always there. And then in this particular case, I've actually got to do, I've got to pull that information from a separate source because they don't have the physical permits. They're historical permits at that point. But it goes into every report. And I always have a structural layout for roof geometry. Every report, it doesn't matter what I do, that's really the way I run it.
Wow.
Again, my field inspection and my reports follow a consistent pattern. They all look like they're supposed to. So this case here's my wind mitigation. Same general information. And then we get into the reports. And I've gone through and I've developed all this stuff and everything in Excel. It works great for me. It doesn't work great for others. I've got a buddy of mine who helps me out on some inspections. And he has a little cumbersome with it. So we're working together to try to make it more user-friendly for us.
That looks good. How much do you sell for?
Right now, I don't. I'm working on it. We can work something out, Ben. I'm still working out some kinks and some bugs, It's not 100% perfect yet. So, but it's, you know, it goes through, it lays all my information out. And then once again, I go into my report, and the consistency across documentation, consistency in the field, helps the client better understand what they're looking at. Their home has information. It's a breathing element. So you've got to be able to transfer that information to them. And everything has a photograph, everything has a caption. What are we looking at? Why are we looking at it? Well, it's part of the it's part of the underlayment. It's part of question 6 of the wind mitigation system, and it is mechanically fastened underlayment. Done.
Got a question, maybe a little off the topic, but it's a good one. Mark Andre asks, when you inspect condominium units, do you only inspect the private spaces, or do you inspect the shared spaces as well?
Good question. Here we go. Here's a condominium inspection.
Wow. Man, that was fast.
Yeah, right. So I'm right up in here. I'm looking at the common elements, because those common elements are part of the structure. That client, yes, they own the unit, but they're also responsible for those common elements. This is the part that a lot of inspectors don't realize. You know, they're paying association dues. They're paying maintenance dues for these structures. And if something comes about that they're not collecting for on a regular basis,
yeah,
well, guess what they have to do? They got to get a special assessment. So in this particular case, I'm up there. I'm going to inspect common elements. Here's the front entry. I'm going to take a photograph in both directions of that structure. Okay. I want to see everything around it, looking out over a roof. Here's the other direction, right? So as we go through, I'm not just looking at the inside of the structure. I'm looking at everything.
Yep.
Now I'll note it. Well, let's see here. I'll get up onto this particular roof.
I remember when I did a 3-story building, and I was inspecting the first floor unit, and the real estate agent asked me, why am I getting up on the roof? Right, it's 3 stories up, it's 40 feet up, and I said, well, there are systems that are connected to the first floor, and one of them is the thing I'm going to be looking at, was the chimney. You know, the chimney right, all the way up. Not many chimneys in Florida, but on northeast. Yep. So there's, in any building, there are systems, and they're interdependent upon each other. They connect with each other, and when one system is failing, it probably is going to affect other systems. So, it could be 50 feet away, but I bet it's going to affect the homeowner in one way or another. And you were talking about the financial ramifications of like delayed maintenance of shared spaces.
Sure.
But, it could be water intrusion. Water moves like crazy.
Well, we were talking about the condo down in Miami here.
Yeah.
That association was in the middle of doing repairs, and there were some special assessments that they all had to pay into to have those repairs happening. I heard one tenant or one property owner say, we had $40 million put aside to do repairs.
Yeah, and that money comes from all the people living there.
Yeah. So here we are. I'm up here on the roof line for this structure. And yes, I'm going to walk this structure, because one of the things that I'm seeing over here, I've got exhaust hoods, I've got roof drains, this roof drain goes down in between all the units.
Right.
What's going to happen if this thing fails and the homeowners in line with that drain get flooded out?
Yep.
If I don't inspect this item, if I don't get up here and look at this roof to find out what's happening on here, I am doing my client a disservice. So, you know, I will get up here on this roof, not to mention the fact that we have all the air conditioning and all the condensers sitting up here as well. So that's the other big thing that the other reason why I get up on that roof.
Looks like you've got a broken conduit there. If you zoom in again to that roof drain, to the left.
To the left.
Yeah, to the roof drain there.
Yeah.
Now to the right. There's the vent pipe. See that? What's that hanging? No.
Oh, this right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a broken junction box for this fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happens all the time. So as we go through, again, I take a bunch of photos up here on this roof system. Number one, trying to identify where my unit where its condenser is actually sitting. And I'm standing right out over the Gulf of Mexico. Great. I love getting up there on these and taking a good photo. So here's my my unit's air conditioner.
Mark Andre just said maintenance inspections are going to be in very high demand. I agree. I mean,
Totally agree.
As an industry, every InterNACHI member should be saying that every home and building should be inspected as part of a routine maintenance plan. We got to inspect these homes and buildings.
Right. So trying to get a good photo of the unit of the system. Let's see here. But yeah, coming through and looking at the structure itself.
Yep.
You know, so I'm not looking at just the unit. I'm walking around the perimeter, seeing if there's any other cracks, looking at the structure itself, what's happening with it, and also identifying where my unit is in relationship to the structure.
Yep.
In this particular case, that's my unit right here. So I try to identify it for my client, where they're at. In this case here, they are facing the Gulf. So, you know, we need to be able to take a look at all this stuff and what can impact my specific client's issues.
Yep.
In this case here, they had all impact glass on the Gulf side, but none of the glass and doors on the front side were impact rated. So bit of a difference, but yes, they should. We should be inspecting these, and I don't care if you're inspecting a single unit or you're doing the entire structure. Walk the entire perimeter. Look for those anomalies that may impact your client, because again, they're going to get a special assessment down the road that they're not prepared for. They've just dropped, in this particular case, they've just dropped a couple of $100,000 in deposit on this structure. All right, I think this unit went for 1.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. 1.5 million, but the view of this house, the view that it has is absolutely gorgeous. Just gorgeous. So it's worth it. But yeah, you know, so we're looking at these. They spend a lot of money. They may or may not be able to come up with that assessment dollar. So
Brian asked, after doing an inspection on a commercial property, is it a good idea to get an annual maintenance inspection contract? To try to sell, you know, maintenance inspections after you do an inspection, try to get in contract for coming back.
it doesn't hurt. I'm all for it. If it's means and methods for that you think that you'd be able to step into, and you've got the experience and knowledge for it, then by all means do it. Know that an annual inspection may not be necessary. Okay. For many of these units, they're supposed to have their own annual internal with the association. Some do. I'm affiliated with one condominium villa association. One of my fellow inspectors and everything, he does their annual inspections and writes them up, whereas I'm the inspector who does the architectural review for that association. So it's a great contract.
Yep.
And it helps that for those continuing residuals that we need to deal with. So yeah.
In the chat, I just sent a link to an article written by ccpia.org about preventive maintenance on commercial buildings if folks are interested in commercial inspections. I think it's a great idea. To me, it's a great idea. You need the training. It's a different animal, right? Apparently you inspect both residential and commercial.
Yeah.
But they're similar but very different, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you use a team for commercial buildings sometimes, or is it just you?
It's me.
Yes,
And most times it's just me.
Yeah.
Let's see, we'll get into talking about commercial structures. Let's see.
So Chad asked a question, and I'm not sure if I got it right, Chad, but Chad asked, in Florida, does a residential inspector license cover inspecting properties with more than 4 units in a building? So like your client may be buying 1 unit in a building, but you're not inspecting the entire building.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. So there is not a separate license for commercial inspections here in Florida.
Yeah.
It does not exist. So anybody can do a commercial inspection. The thing that you need to be very, very careful with is, do you know what you're looking at for that commercial building? And that's where I'm getting into I've got a recent commercial inspection that I had done. Here it is. Oh.
I think Mark Andre is going to argue with you in a good way as a colleague. He's saying furnace inspections are on a yearly basis. So why not do home inspections, entire building inspections on a yearly basis? It's got a point.
I'm not disagreeing. I don't disagree with you. I clearly I don't. I think we should. The problem being is that many clients aren't going to invest the dollar.
Right. We're not there yet.
Right. So trying to get into my my commercial.
Well, you do that. I'll keep talking.
Yeah, keep talking.
You and I are almost the same age, and we come from a generation that can actually fix stuff in a home. There's a generation. There's several generations coming up. They can't do a darn thing.
Oh my God, no.
That's another reason why, though, our home inspection industry is so important for folks, because they'll buy a home and they don't know what to do, and they don't know what a problem looks like, or they have no idea. It's hard for us to understand, but folks don't understand what a stucco crack with water coming out of the crack means.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really important to get these homes inspected. I'm just a big proponent of that, obviously.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Inspect. I mean, here's inspection I did back in April. And it's a commercial property. So I'm looking at all the fun stuff with this property, right? And this one here, I had an assistant on this one. But even still, we went through 370 items in this folder alone. And we saw things from get into some of these here. There you go. Here's steel, and this is I've got the wall open up here, and I've got debris actually coming into structure. I got water intrusion all into structure because of these holes. Now, granted, it's a commercial building, it's just got a metal skin on it, but what if I want to finish this out? What if I want to go ahead and close this in and make this more of a high-end storage area? Well, I'm going to have to correct all of those issues. But not only is that water coming in, I got debris coming in, but I've got heavy corrosion now down at the base. My client's coming in, this is going to be an investment property for them, and they're coming in from New York. So again, you know, they're looking at property that that they may or may not have seen yet.
Yep.
Get into multiple units that have electrical power, and they're not identified what unit belongs to where. We actually had to go through and start flipping switches on the mains that were below these to find out what units they belong to. So getting into these, you know, we're looking at a lot of different items all the way through. All the lovely overgrowth into structure. And if we look at, I pull a lot of aerial photos. What's right next to this? What's right next to the structure? Junkyard. All right, this was a boat area, you know. We actually went through and found that there was a trailer, a mobile trailer, camping trailer on site, and it was active. Someone was living in it. It's amazing. You can walk by and hear the TV blasting, and then when you bring the question up to the realtor says, "Oh, no, it's just they're just using it for a bathroom or whatever." No, they're not. Someone's living in that, you know. And so because right after we brought it to their attention, suddenly I wasn't hearing the TV anymore. But yeah.
So I just posted some resources. Somebody asked, Ridge Howard asked for some commercial inspection resources through InterNACHI's. So on the chat feature.
Yeah, the CCPIA,
Yeah.
great resource. You know, and I use those standards. When I go out and do my commercial buildings, I'll pull those standards in and reference those standards for my inspections because they don't exist before. So, and here is a live line coming from that camper. This is the waste line. So they're not dumping it into the sewer system. They're dumping it out on ground. So doing commercial inspections, it's important to know what you're looking at and what you should be looking at in the event that you see an anomaly such as this. Is that a health concern? Of course it is. Live electrical. The other thing with commercial buildings, you may run into a three-phase electrical panel. As a home inspector or a non-electrician or someone who's not familiar with it, don't open a three-phase panel. you will light yourself up and everybody around you. So any of the three-phase panels, do not open those panels up. Always refer those out to a licensed electrician.
Yeah, it's not like a house dead front cover. I mean, there's high voltage. I mean, you won't really get an explosion from a residential electrical panel, but you will from a commercial.
Yes. Yeah. You know, and because they're running in this case here, this may be running generators, maybe running vehicle lifts, maybe running an elevator. So those are all high power items. And, you know, with that being said, they're going to run into those and it's going to be trouble.
Yep.
So
that's why,
know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned about the commercial course and having a team. I was wondering if you have a team, because the commercial course really just talks about the inspector being the manager of folks, correct, commercial electricians who are more familiar probably than you would be, or an HVAC tech or something like that, because it's hard to be a master of everything. Although not you, Glenn, you're a master of everything. Sorry.
You're right. You know, I am that unique inspector. Okay. Yeah. And I clearly understand that. I've been teaching contractors since 2008. And, you know, from exam prep to estimating to project management, whether it be structurals or ground, you know, I can do vertical and horizontal construction. So I'm that weirdo, right? And I get that. I can look at things a little bit more globally and then defer accordingly. If you just hold that home inspector's license, if you just do houses residential on a regular basis, don't step into the commercial world without the proper training. You are setting yourself up for a liability risk that you may not survive. Nope. And I mean financially as well. You know, it's a high risk to step into. So, you know, I always err on the side of caution. Don't step into it till you've done some training with it. You know, go shadow some guys and go shadow some commercial inspectors. Get some additional training. Have a tendency to look at what you need to look at. I've got another good one up in here. I want to try.
Yeah. What do you want to finish up with?
Yeah, we're about that time. So let's you know what? Let's talk Fabby.
Okay, good.
Because listen, we've got a conference coming up. This is actually a joint conference with InterNACHI. InterNACHI is joining us with this conference in Fort Lauderdale. It is September 10th through the 12th. It is a 3-day conference. We've got a lot of things going on with them. As a matter of fact, let me pull up our lovely little pieces of information.
The Marriott is a beautiful place.
It really is. Our registration right now, we're working with the hotel. We just switched over to a different management company. So we're working with the hotel to try to get the to get everything properly set up so that we can get people registered for the classes and they can register for their hotels. They're coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
And we have they've got families from the collapsed structures that are living there as well. So there's a lot of things going on down in that area. So, you know, there's a little bit of a delay, a little bit of hesitancy with them on trying to get things so we can get that registration active and live. But our goal is to make sure that that's up and running here within the next week or so. So coming up in our classes and everything, here we go. This, and basically this is our agenda
Nice.
for the conference. Friday, 4-point wind mitts. Manny Gonzalez, who lives down in that area. He's a past president. He's one of our instructors. And so he gets the joy of handling the 4 points of wind mitts. And it's his backyard, so he's real familiar with that. Then we're getting into, we've actually got a building official coming in to talk about roofs in the Miami-Dade area. We're coming in with smart homes. We're getting a lot of smart technology, and how do we inspect it? You know, there's so many different means and methods for that. So we've got them coming in. We've got our standards and practices we'll be talking about. Looking at electrical again. One of the biggest questions we get is about electrical. So we've got Mike coming in talking about electrical systems, panels, GFCIs, arc faults. But we've got a dual track going on that same day. So you can take the morning and take these classes, right? And then in the afternoon, you can go hang out at the House of Horrors, or you can flip it around, take classes in the afternoon at the conference, and then do House of Horrors in the morning. So, you know, we've got it out there for it. So we're, House of Horrors is a great opportunity to look at how many defects are listed in there, Ben?
1,000 defects, lots of fun.
Lots of fun, yeah. So being able to get in there and take a look at it, look at these defects. So, you know, the 10th is the Friday. We're in there looking at all that stuff with 4-point wind mitigation. Saturday is the main track that we deal with. Sunday, I'm going to be talking with, we're going to be talking more business related conversations on Sunday. That's only a half day. A lot of inspectors don't think they need to talk business. They need to learn anything about business. And unfortunately, that's the one thing we all fail at. So, you know, business is absolutely critical. Don't think that it's not something that you don't need. We all need to deal with business in one way or the other, whether it is to help our business grow, starting our business, just to manage the day-to-day. If you're a one-person shop, well, it's pretty easy, but are you properly submitting your payroll taxes? You know, or are you just dumping everything in your personal account? That don't work that way. So, you know, I'm a one-man person, but guess what? I'm paid as an employee to my company, and in doing so, my company takes out taxes, and all my checks, all my pay from my inspections go directly into my bank account, my business bank account, not my personal. So those two elements stay very separate from each other.
Chad asks, do I need to sign up for the conference, and what's the cost?
Yes. So signing up for the conference. Right now, the conference, the fees for the conference is $95 per night for the hotel, and we do not have the conference fee up here yet, just because we haven't opened it up. I think it's $250 for the conference as a non-member.
Cool.
$195 for a member, I believe it is. But Fab, you know, we do these things 4 times a year. Fort Lauderdale's in September, and in December we're in Daytona.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Then we're working on some inspection, some conferences for up in North Florida in the Panhandle. And so we'll be switching out some of our regular, whether it be a Daytona, Orlando, or Tampa conference. We'll switch those out once a year and throw those up into the Panhandle of Florida, and really trying to expand that our growth and our reach to the Florida inspectors. People don't realize how big Florida really is. It will take you 16 hours to drive from Key West to Pensacola. That's nonstop 16 hours.
It's incredible.
Stopping is going to take you a good 20 hours. People think driving through Texas is bad. Florida is almost as bad. They just don't realize how large of a state we have here. So
2 questions about the event. Chad asks, is there an InterNACHI member discount? And Gerald asks, is there a price breakdown if they just want to take one day of
yes, there is. Historically, we've done, you can take just Friday, you can take just Friday and Saturday, or you can just take Saturday if you want. There is a cost breakdown for each one of those. Like I said, we are going through a brand new management company. They are coming on board. We're bringing them in right now. But the issues that we're running into at the moment is with the hotel and getting the hotel opened up for us, so we can start booking those. Once we get that cleared, then the registration for the conference will be lit up.
And there's a discount for InterNACHI members.
I believe there is, yes.
Yeah, there's a difference between member and non-member. Got to be a member. Got to be a member.
Got to be a member. That's right.
Got to be part of the family, right?
That's it.
Well, Glenn, thanks for being part of the family and being an InterNACHI member and being ahead of Fabi down there to take care of all of our Florida inspectors. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being on the webinar today too.
Oh, I enjoy this stuff so much. I really do.
I can tell.
It's fun.
I really appreciate it. Stay safe and healthy, and maybe I'll see you down there.
There you go.
One of these events. I'll come down. It's cold in Colorado.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Glenn, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. It's great seeing, great talking with you. I hope I've been helpful. If not, hey, guess what? That's my phone number, so you can always call me.
Appreciate it. All right, everyone. See ya.
See you
Bye.
guys.